The Grand Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with whispers. Representatives from 200 alien species filled the curved seats that rose like stairs toward the ceiling. At the center stood John Carter, the sole human representative, his back straight despite the weight of Earth's future on his shoulders. The council leader, a tall being with blue skin and 6 eyes, tapped a crystal rod against the podium. The sound echoed through the chamber, and silence fell. "This special session addresses the human question," the council leader said. His voice was cold and flat. "For 50 years, we have observed Earth. For 20 years, humans have been junior members of our galactic family. Today, we must acknowledge our mistake." John's heart beat faster, but he kept his face calm. He had suspected this was coming. The reports from Earth's intelligence services had warned him. Humans develop too quickly. They adapt too easily. They question too much, continued the council leader. Their nature is unpredictable. Their potential is dangerous. A representative with green scales stood up. They modified our ships to be 30% faster within months of seeing the designs. Another with tentacles for arms joined in. They ask about restricted technologies constantly. They cannot accept the natural order. One by one, council members listed their complaints. Humans learned too fast. Humans changed too much. Humans did not respect ancient traditions. John waited until they finished. "May I speak in our defense?" he asked. The council leader nodded once. "We are curious by nature. We seek to improve. We mean no disrespect by our questions or innovations. We only wish to contribute to the galactic community." The council leader's 6 eyes blinked in unison. "The decision has already been made, human. Earth is formally banished from the Galactic Council. All trade routes are cut. All communication is severed. You have 1 standard month to return to your planet. Any human found in council space after that time will be imprisoned." John felt cold shock wash over him. Banishment was worse than he had imagined. "You condemn us to isolation because we learn too quickly." "We protect the galaxy from disruption," replied the council leader. "This session is closed." Guards escorted John to his ship. As he piloted away from the massive council station, he sent an urgent message to Earth. President Samantha Wright needed to know immediately. 3 days later, President Wright stood before the emergency assembly of world leaders. Her gray suit matched her serious expression as she addressed the crowd. "The Galactic Council has banished humanity," she said. "They fear our ability to learn and adapt. They have cut all trade and communication. We are alone in the universe once more." Murmurs of shock and anger filled the room. A man from Japan stood. "What about our colonies on Mars and Europa? Our mining operations in the asteroid belt?" "We keep those," President Wright said, "but we cannot expand further. At least, not with their permission or help." She nodded to 2 people sitting quietly in the front row. Dr. Kate Miller and Dr. Alan Patel have something to share. The scientists walked to the podium. Kate spoke first, her voice steady despite the tension in the room. "For 5 years, we've been developing technology in secret," she said. "The aliens always watched our official research, but we created a special program, hidden from their observers." Alan continued, "We've developed a propulsion system that's twice as efficient as Council technology. We did this by combining their basic principles with our own innovations. We kept it hidden because we suspected they might react exactly as they have." President Wright returned to the podium. "The Council has made a critical mistake. They think that by cutting us off, they limit us. Instead, they have freed us from their restrictions. Starting today, we launch the Exodus Initiative." She brought up images on the large screen behind her. Designs for massive ships appeared. "We will build a fleet. We will find new worlds beyond Council space. And we will create our own path among the stars." The room erupted in applause and determined voices. On the other side of the galaxy, the Council congratulated themselves on containing the human threat. They had no idea what they had just unleashed. The sky above Earth filled with construction lights as humanity built its future. Massive scaffolding surrounded the growing shapes of colony ships. Each vessel stretched over a mile long, designed to carry thousands of people across the stars. Steve Morrison wiped sweat from his forehead as he checked the plans once more. As chief engineer of the Exodus fleet, every decision fell on his shoulders. The life support systems on the third ship need another check, he told his assistant. We can't risk any failures. For 6 months, the best minds on Earth had worked nonstop. The Council's banishment had united humanity in a way nothing else had before. Old enemies now shared resources and knowledge. The goal was simple: survive and thrive beyond Council space. President Wright toured the main construction site weekly. Today she stood with Steve, looking up at the nearly completed flagship. Will they be ready on schedule? She asked. Steve nodded. The first 5 ships will be ready in 2 weeks. We're adding the final touches to the self-sustaining farms and water recycling systems. And the volunteers. 10 million people have signed up. We've selected the first wave based on skills and adaptability. The president watched workers install a massive engine component. The Council thinks they've defeated us. They have no idea what they've done. 3 weeks later, the first ships of the Exodus fleet launched from Earth. People lined the streets to watch view screens as the massive vessels rose into the sky. Some cried. Others cheered. All felt the weight of this moment in history. Aboard the flagship, Lisa Hernandez sat at the navigation station. As the fleet's lead navigator, she had spent months studying the star charts of unexplored space. The ships would travel far beyond the borders of Council territory, to regions no known species had claimed. Course is set, Captain, she said. We'll reach the outer boundary of Council space in 12 days. Captain Roy Bennett nodded. Take us out, Ms. Hernandez. Humanity's new chapter begins today. The massive engines hummed as the fleet accelerated away from Earth. Behind them, more ships were under construction. This was just the first wave. For 2 months, the fleet traveled through empty space. They avoided all known trade routes and patrol areas. The Council had many eyes, and humanity wasn't ready for a confrontation. On the 63rd day, Lisa called the captain to the bridge. Sir, I've detected something interesting ahead. A star cluster with at least 4 planets in the habitable zone. The captain studied the scans. How far? 3 weeks at our current speed. Any signs of Council presence? Lisa shook her head. None. This area isn't on any of their charts we had access to. The captain smiled. Plot a course. Let's take a closer look. When the fleet arrived, they found paradise waiting. The largest planet had breathable air, clean water, and fertile soil. 3 smaller planets in the system were rich with minerals and resources. Best of all, there were no signs of any advanced civilization. The landing teams touched down on the surface of the largest planet under a purple-tinted sky. Diane Powell, appointed as the future governor of this colony, knelt and picked up a handful of soil. We'll call this New Terra, she announced. Our first home beyond Earth. Within days, the fleet had established a base camp. Prefabricated buildings rose quickly. Farm plots were marked out. Mining equipment was assembled for transport to the resource planets. A Council spy ship, hiding at the edge of the system, recorded everything. The small vessel slipped away undetected to report back to its masters. 3 weeks later, the report was presented to the Council. The humans have established a primitive colony beyond our borders, said the intelligence officer. They appear to be focused on basic survival. Their technology is limited to what they brought from Earth. The Council leader dismissed the report with a wave of his 6-fingered hand. Let them struggle in the wilderness. Without our guidance and technology, they will stagnate and eventually die out. The human problem has solved itself. How wrong they were. On New Terra, humans weren't just surviving. They were laying the foundation for something the galaxy had never seen before. 25 years after the banishment, the human colonies had grown beyond all expectations. New Terra now had cities with tall buildings and wide streets. Gardens and parks filled the spaces between homes. Children who had never seen Earth played under purple skies. 11 other planets now held human settlements. Some were mining colonies that pulled rare metals from deep underground. Others were farming worlds that grew food for the growing population. All were connected by the ships that moved constantly between them. In his lab on New Terra, Dr. Frank Garcia made final adjustments to a small silver device. His team watched with excitement as he activated it. "Send the message," Frank told his assistant. The young woman pressed a button on her tablet. "Message sent, Doctor." 10 seconds passed. Then a light on the silver device began to blink. Frank smiled. "It works. Faster than light communication that doesn't use council technology." His assistant clapped her hands. "How fast was it?" "The message reached Horizon Colony in under 15 seconds. That's 6 light years away." Frank picked up the device carefully. "The council's system takes almost a minute to cover the same distance, and now we don't need to rely on their old networks at all." Within months, every human colony had communication devices based on Frank's design. Information flowed freely between all human settlements without any risk of council interception. On the military research station orbiting the 4th planet, Commander Grace Williams studied the screen in front of her. Her team had been working on defense technology for 3 years. "Fire the test weapon," she ordered. A beam of energy hit the shield surrounding a test satellite. Previous shields would have failed instantly. This one glowed brightly but held. "Shield holding at 93%, reported a technician. Grace nodded with satisfaction. Again. The weapon fired 3 more times. The shield continued to hold. "We did it," she said quietly. "By studying the wreckage of that abandoned council patrol ship, we've created shields twice as strong as anything they have." In orbit above New Terra, the shipyards were busy day and night. Captain Paul Jackson stood in front of a massive window, watching as workers attached the final pieces to his new ship. "She's beautiful," said his first officer, standing beside him. The HSS Defiance stretched almost 2 miles long. Its sleek shape hid weapon systems more advanced than anything Earth had possessed before Banishment. Its engines were the most powerful ever built by human hands. "The first supercarrier built entirely in our new home," Paul said with pride. "Designed to protect all human colonies, and maybe more than that," his first officer asked quietly. Paul only smiled in response. They both knew the Defiance wasn't just a defensive vessel. It was humanity's first step toward reaching beyond their small cluster of worlds. On a planet far away, the Council held its regular meeting. A minor official presented the yearly report on the banished humans. "The primitives have established 12 small colonies," said the official. "They appear to be surviving on basic industry and simple spacecraft." A council member yawned. "Are they any threat to council interests?" "None, Excellency. They remain isolated in their small region of space. Our patrols occasionally observe them from a distance, but they show no signs of significant advancement." The council member nodded, already thinking about the next item on the agenda. "Continue the standard observation. They are not important." In that moment of dismissal, the council made its second great mistake. Because out in the stars, humans weren't just surviving. They were thriving. Every day brought new inventions. Every challenge sparked new solutions. Without the council's restrictions, human innovation moved at amazing speed. The colonies grew stronger. Their technology advanced rapidly. And soon, they would be ready to surprise the galaxy again. The mining operation on asteroid KX-47 ran day and night. Human workers guided machines that cut deep into the rock, extracting rare minerals that powered the newest human technologies. The asteroid sat in a system that official council maps marked as empty. It wasn't part of council space, but it wasn't claimed by humans either. It was neutral territory. Commander Eric Chen stood on the bridge of the HSS Intrepid, watching the mining operation through the main view screen. His ship patrolled this sector, protecting the miners from any potential threats. So far, they had encountered nothing dangerous. That changed today. "Commander, unknown ship approaching from Sector 7, reported his sensor officer. It's not one of ours. Eric straightened his uniform. Show me. The screen changed to show a sleek vessel moving toward them. Its design was unmistakable. Council patrol ship, Eric said quietly. Battle stations, but do not power weapons unless I give the order. The council ship slowed as it approached the mining operation. It made no aggressive moves, but began scanning everything with its sensors. They're hailing us, sir, said the communications officer. Eric nodded. On screen, the face of a council captain appeared. He had gray skin and large black eyes. He looked shocked to see humans this far from their colonies. This is Captain Zrel of the Galactic Council's security force, the alien said. You are trespassing in neutral space with illegal mining equipment. Eric kept his voice calm and friendly. Captain Zrel, I am Commander Eric Chen of the human security ship Intrepid. We disagree with your assessment. These asteroids are unclaimed by any council race, and our mining operation follows all safety protocols. The council captain's eyes narrowed. Your ships should not have the capability to reach this sector, and your technology appears to exceed permitted levels for banished species. The council chose to banish us, Captain, Eric replied. They did not set limits on what we could or could not develop on our own. The council ship scanned the Intrepid again. Eric knew what they would find. Shields stronger than council military vessels, engines more efficient than their best designs, and weapons that could match anything they possessed. None of it stolen. All of it created by human ingenuity. You will cease operations and return to your territory, demanded Captain Zrel. Eric smiled politely. We respectfully decline. This is neutral space, open to all. We have as much right to be here as you do. The council ship circled the mining operation once more. It was clear that Captain Zrel was unsure what to do. The humans weren't breaking any specific laws, but their presence and level of technology clearly disturbed him. Finally, the council ship turned and accelerated away from the asteroid field. Eric knew they were returning to report what they had found. The quiet period of human expansion was ending. 3 weeks later, on a distant trading post, a slim alien with purple skin approached a human merchant. The human woman looked up from her inventory list with surprise. Few aliens willingly spoke to humans since the banishment. Are you Nicole Martinez, human trade representative? Asked the alien quietly. Nicole nodded cautiously. I am. I am Krell from the Xantari people. My leaders wish to speak with yours. The alien looked around nervously. The council taxes our worlds until we starve. They restrict our technology and punish innovation. We have heard that humans have found another way. Nicole kept her face neutral, but her heart raced with excitement. This was the first alien species to reach out to humans since the banishment. I will arrange a meeting, she said softly. But we must be careful. The council has many eyes. As Nicole sent an encrypted message back to New Terra, a special session of the Galactic Council convened. The hall buzzed with anxiety as Captain Zrel's report was presented. The humans have expanded beyond their initial systems, announced the council leader. Their technology has advanced far beyond what should be possible in such a short time. How could this happen? Demanded one council member. No one had a good answer. None of them had believed humans could progress so quickly without council guidance. None of them had imagined that banishment would accelerate human development rather than cripple it. We must address this human situation immediately, declared the council leader, before it becomes a true threat to galactic stability. But it was already too late. The wheels of change had started turning. The trading post on Xantari Prime bustled with activity. Aliens of different shapes and sizes moved between market stalls, examining goods from across the stars. But the busiest stalls belonged to the humans. Their tools and machines sold faster than they could be unloaded from the ships. A Xantari farmer held up a small device he had just purchased. This will clean my water in half the time of council technology, at 1/3 the cost, he told his friend excitedly. Similar scenes played out on dozens of worlds across the galaxy. Human goods moved quietly through non-council trade routes. The humans asked fair prices and offered better products than the Council-approved versions. Word spread quickly. On the planet Dorax, a terrible disease spread through the largest colony. The Council sent medicine, but it wasn't working fast enough. Thousands had already died. Dr. Helen Brown stepped off the human medical ship with her team. She carried cases of supplies and equipment not available anywhere in Council space. "We came as soon as we received your message," she told the Doraxian leader. "We have treatments that should help." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in surprise. "The Council said you humans were dangerous, that you could not be trusted." Helen smiled gently. "Judge us by our actions, not by the Council's words." Within 2 weeks, the outbreak was contained. The Doraxians hailed the humans as heroes and new allies. The news spread across the galaxy, despite Council efforts to suppress it. Back in human space, Admiral Ben Taylor looked at the holographic map showing the defensive network around their territory. 20 years ago, humans had owned 12 planets. Now they controlled 37 worlds, with mining rights to dozens more. "The new sensor grid is active," reported his aide. "We'll have advance warning of any Council movement toward our space." Ben nodded with satisfaction. "And the new shipyards? Producing 6 warships per month, sir. All with our latest technology." The Council had made no hostile moves yet, but humans remembered the banishment. They would not be caught unprepared again. On New Terra, the capital city sparkled with lights as the sun set. In the government center, President Samantha Wright met with her advisors. A hologram of a Council diplomat floated above the conference table. "The Council extends an offer of probationary return to galactic society," said the hologram. Human representatives would be allowed limited participation in Council affairs. Human worlds would receive Council protection. Samantha looked at the faces around the table. No one seemed impressed by the offer. "And in return," she asked, "human technology development would be subject to Council oversight. Human expansion would be limited to approved regions. Human military forces would be reduced to defensive levels only." Samantha smiled politely. "Please thank the Council for their generous offer. However, we must respectfully decline. Humanity has found its own path among the stars." After the hologram disappeared, her foreign minister spoke up. "They're scared. They see what we've built in just 50 years of freedom." "They should be," said the defense minister. "Our free trade coalition now includes 7 species. The Council's grip on the galaxy is slipping." Samantha looked out the window at the busy city below. "We never wanted conflict. We only wanted to find our own way. The Council gave us that chance when they banished us. I wonder if they regret it now." In the Grand Council chamber, the atmosphere was tense. Reports from across the galaxy showed Council influence weakening. Trade revenues had dropped by 18% in the past 5 years. Several mid-tier races were openly questioning Council leadership. "The humans have created an alternative to our system," admitted the economics minister. "Their free trade coalition offers lower taxes, fewer restrictions, and better technology." "How can they produce better technology?" demanded a senior Council member. "They were a primitive race just 50 years ago." "They innovate constantly," replied the minister. "Without our approval process, they can bring new inventions to market in months instead of years. They learn from each species they meet, incorporating the best ideas into their own work." The Council leader tapped his crystal rod against the podium in frustration. "We must recover control of the situation. Offer greater concessions to the humans if necessary." "It may be too late for that," said a quiet voice from the back of the chamber. "The Arbaxians have officially left the Council. They have joined the human coalition." Shocked silence filled the room. The Arbaxians had been Council members for 3,000 years. Their departure sent a clear message to everyone. The old order was changing. The Valyrian ambassador waited in the secure meeting room. His gray skin and large, compound eyes marked him as a member of one of the most powerful species in the Council. For centuries, the Valyrians had served as the military enforcers of Council will. Now, Ambassador Krell was doing something that would have been unthinkable just 10 years ago. The door opened, and Richard Peters entered. As the newly elected president of the Human Federation, he had risen to power on a platform of galactic cooperation. He smiled warmly at the Valyrian. "Ambassador Krell, thank you for taking the risk to meet with me." The Valyrian's mouthparts clicked nervously. "This meeting never happened, Mr. President. If the Council learns of our discussions—" Richard nodded. "I understand. Your secret is safe with us." The Valyrian placed a data crystal on the table. "This contains information about Council fleet movements and defense codes. We believe the Hardliners are planning military action against your colonies." Richard studied the alien with curiosity. "Why are you helping us?" "The Valyrians have always been loyal to the Council." "The Council is dying," said Krell plainly. "They refuse to adapt. They punish innovation. For 1,000 years, this was acceptable because there was no alternative. Your people have shown the galaxy another way is possible." When the meeting ended, Richard immediately called his Security Council. The information from the Valyrians confirmed their worst fears. The Council was preparing for war. Across the galaxy, Council supply chains began to collapse. For millennia, the Council had controlled the flow of essential goods between worlds. Now those worlds had options. Human traders offered better prices, faster delivery, and higher quality. The Council's economic grip weakened daily. On a small agricultural world, a Council tax collector found the warehouses empty. "Where is the grain for transport?" he demanded of the local leader. The farmer shrugged. "We sold it already." "To whom?" "All trade must go through Council-approved channels." "The humans offered twice what you pay. Our people need medicine and equipment. The Council gives us little in return for our crops." Similar conversations happened across 100 worlds. The Council's economic model had relied on cheap resources from outer worlds that could be sold at high prices to inner worlds. The humans had broken this cycle by offering fair trades to everyone. In the Council chamber, arguments grew heated. "We must use military force to bring these rebellious worlds back in line," shouted one representative. "Against half the galaxy," countered another. "The humans now have trade agreements with over 30 species. We cannot fight them all." The once unified Council fractured into factions. Some wanted war. Others suggested accommodation. A growing number wondered if the Council system itself was outdated. On New Terra, President Peters addressed the citizens through a galaxy-wide broadcast. His message reached not only human worlds but also their growing number of allies. "Today I announce the formation of the Galactic Union," he said confidently. "This new alliance welcomes all species who wish to trade freely, develop without restriction, and live in peace. We do not seek to replace the Council, but to offer an alternative based on mutual respect and cooperation." The response was immediate and overwhelming. Within days, 17 species applied to join the Union. Most surprising was the application from the Arbaxians, once a founding member of the Council. The Arbaxian Prime Minister addressed his people on the day they officially left the Council. "For 3,000 years, we followed Council ways. We accepted their limits on trade, technology, and expansion. We now choose a different path, one where we can grow without artificial constraints." In the shadows of Council space, 3 military commanders met in secret. All represented powerful Council races. All shared the same concerns. "The Council is losing control," said one. "The Hardliners push for war, but such a conflict would tear the galaxy apart." "The humans do not seek conquest," said another. "They build, trade, and share knowledge. Perhaps we have misjudged them." The third commander, a veteran of many Council enforcement actions, spoke last. "If war comes, I will not lead my ships against the humans or their allies. Times are changing. We must change with them or be left behind." The cracks in the Council's foundation grew wider each day. The once mighty galactic power faced a choice: adapt or collapse. The emergency session of the Galactic Council lasted 3 days. Voices grew hoarse from shouting. Representatives threatened each other openly. The once orderly chamber now resembled a battlefield where words were the weapons. In the end, the hardliners won. By a narrow vote, the council approved military action against what they called the Human Rebellion. The vote split the council further, with several representatives walking out in protest. "This is madness," warned the Trillion ambassador as he left. "The humans have not attacked us. They merely built their own path after we cast them out." His words fell on deaf ears. The council leader had already ordered the assembly of the largest fleet in council history. Over 500 warships gathered at the staging area. Their mission: to push back human expansion and reassert council authority over the breakaway worlds. On New Terra, President Peters received the news with a heavy heart. He had hoped for peaceful coexistence, but had prepared for this possibility. "The council fleet will reach our border in 6 days," reported Admiral Julia Ramirez, commander of the Human Defense Fleet. Her dark eyes showed no fear, only focus. "We have deployed all available ships to defensive positions." Richard nodded. "How many vessels do we have?" 287 combat-ready ships, Julia answered. Smaller in number, but each more advanced than their council counterparts. "And our allies?" "The Xantari have pledged 30 ships. The Arbaxians another 45. Several other species have sent what they can." The president looked at the tactical display, showing the positions of both fleets. "We will not fire first, Admiral. Make that clear to all commanders. If war comes, history will show that the council started it." Julia saluted sharply. "Yes, sir." The two fleets met at the border of human space. The council ships formed an impressive wall of military might, their weapons primed and ready. The human fleet arranged itself in a defensive formation, protecting the trade routes and colonies behind them. For 2 days, the fleets faced each other without firing a shot. Communications went back and forth as diplomats made last attempts to avoid conflict. Then a single shot changed everything. A council destroyer fired on a small human outpost on the edge of the border. The station, with only 50 people aboard, had minimal defenses. Within seconds, human ships moved to protect it, returning fire with precision. The battle erupted across the entire front. Council ships advanced in traditional attack formations, expecting to overwhelm the smaller human fleet with numbers and firepower. They were not prepared for what they encountered. Human vessels moved with unexpected speed and coordination. Their shields absorbed energy weapons that should have destroyed them. Their own weapons targeted the weak points of council ship designs with surgical precision. On the bridge of the flagship HS Defiant, Admiral Ramirez directed the defense. Her calm voice guided fleet commanders through the chaos of battle. Group 3, reinforce the right flank. Group 7, prepare to counter their central thrust. All ships, remember your training. We defend, we don't pursue. The Council Admiral watched in growing horror as his carefully planned offensive faltered. Ship after ship reported critical damage or system failures. The humans were not fighting as expected. They disabled engines and weapon systems rather than destroying vessels outright. They targeted command centers with precision strikes that minimize casualties. "They're toying with us," muttered his executive officer. By the end of the first day, 30 council ships had been disabled. By the end of the second day, that number had grown to 100. By the third day, half the council fleet was either destroyed or unable to fight. The council admiral received orders from the council leader. "Retreat is authorized. Return to council space immediately." As the council fleet limped away, news of their defeat spread across the galaxy at light speed. Worlds that had feared council retaliation now saw proof that the balance of power had shifted. More species requested membership in the human coalition. In the council chamber, the leader faced the anger of his own people. "You promised a swift victory," shouted one representative. "Instead, we have suffered the greatest military defeat in council history." The leader had no answer. The unthinkable had happened. The humans, vanished just 60 years ago as a problematic species, had beaten the greatest power the galaxy had ever known. 5 years after the failed Council attack, the galaxy looked very different. Where once the Council had ruled without question for thousands of years, a new order now existed. The Galactic Union had grown to include over 60 species. Their combined territories covered nearly 2/3 of known space. The former Council headquarters, a massive space station that had once symbolized absolute power, now served a new purpose. Its grand chamber had been redesigned as an open forum where representatives from all spacefaring races could speak as equals. No species held permanent power over others. Decisions required true consensus. Greg Johnson, a veteran diplomat from Earth, watched the proceedings from his seat. As one of the authors of the new Galactic Constitution, he took pride in seeing diverse species debate issues openly. The old Council had made decisions behind closed doors. The Union conducted all business in public view. The trade agreement with the outer systems passes with 83% approval, announced the session moderator, a tall being from a species that had once been among the lowest ranks of Council society. Greg made notes on his tablet. The new agreement would bring prosperity to worlds that had been exploited for centuries. This was what humans had fought for. Not dominance, but fairness. Of the original Council races, most had eventually joined the Union. Only 3 remained holdouts, isolating themselves from the new galactic community. Their once mighty economies had shrunk to shadows of their former glory. Outside the chamber, Greg met with President Laura Martinez. She had taken office 2 months earlier, becoming the 5th human to lead the Federation since the great changes began. "How did the vote go?" she asked. "Better than expected," Greg replied. Even the Krellians supported it in the end. They walked to the observation deck that offered a view of the busy space around the station. Ships of all designs moved in carefully organized patterns, carrying goods and people between worlds that had once been separated by Council decree. 65 years, Laura said quietly. "That's how long it's been since the banishment. Less than a human lifetime. And everything has changed." Greg nodded. "They thought they were punishing us. Instead, they set us free." Later that day, a solemn ceremony took place in the Memorial Garden. Representatives from all Union species gathered to honor those lost during the years of isolation and conflict. The garden contained plants from 100 worlds, growing together in carefully designed harmony. President Martinez placed a wreath of earth flowers at the central monument. Beside her stood Xantil, the chief diplomat of the Xanteri, the first alien species to reach out to humans after the banishment. "I often wonder," Xantil said as they walked through the garden afterward, "what would have happened if the Council had welcomed humans as true partners instead of fearing their potential?" Laura smiled. "Perhaps we would have built something like this much sooner, with less pain along the way." "Or perhaps not," the alien replied thoughtfully. "Sometimes the hardest paths lead to the greatest wisdom." The following morning, crowds gathered at the main spaceport to witness a historic launch. The Union's first joint deep space exploration mission prepared to depart. The massive ship carried scientists from 22 species, including humans. Its mission: to explore beyond the known galaxy, seeking new knowledge rather than conquest or resources. Captain Maya Rodriguez stood on the bridge, looking at her diverse crew with pride. Her grandparents had been among the original colonists of New Terra. They had told her stories of Earth and the early days of exile. Now she commanded the most advanced vessel ever built, created through the combined knowledge of dozens of civilizations. "All systems ready, Captain," reported her first officer, a Valyrian whose ancestors had once enforced Council rule. "Take us out," Maya ordered. "New horizons await." As the ship accelerated away from the station, message buoys broadcast the event throughout Union space. On countless worlds, beings of all forms watched the departure. For many, it symbolized everything the Union stood for: cooperation, exploration, and a future without the artificial limits of the past. The Council had banished humanity thinking it would contain their troublesome nature. Instead, that decision had unleashed humanity's greatest strengths, and in doing so, it had transformed the galaxy for the better.